welcome back to Newsmaker Live. We have a call on the line. I have not allowed my guests to respond as well because we're getting the calls so quickly. So go ahead, caller, very quickly with your contribution so that we can have our guests respond to the comments
Yes,
and also share some views.
I just basically wanted to contribute to congratulate the caller before the last and to say this is probably the best contribution from a caller to a talk show that I've heard in St. Lucia in years. And I want to
It takes a village?
I want to endorse the basis of what he was saying, that it takes a community to raise a child. And unless we understand that, we're going nowhere. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much for your contribution. Gentlemen, let's respond because I'm sure that other calls will be coming in very quickly.
You know, the sentiment is well appreciated. And it's known, it takes a village to raise a child. But in that village, we have women who have decided that I am going to pick up my responsibility. And my responsibility is greater than what you afforded me 20 years ago. And then in that village, you have men who have been sidelined, who figure that there's no responsibility, there's no need for me to show my responsibility. You know, in that village, you wonder if a man has a child and says, I'll leave my child for my wife or my woman to take care of, then what becomes of that responsibility that he has when he's created something? You know, so in that village, there's a responsibility for men, there's a responsibility for women. And our focus is International Men's Day. Our focus is on getting men to understand what their role and responsibilities are in that scenario. Also, I mean, look, sometimes the village itself, and in our communities, we've noticed that the village itself has, you know, dismantled. Whereas I knew when I was growing up that certain people walking the streets knew my mother and father and would correct me right there and then. And if they corrected me, my mother and father would still correct me again. But that village setting has changed, that dynamic has changed. And so even more so then, you know, there's a call for parents and fathers and mothers to pick up their own responsibilities where children are concerned.
We have a call on the line, but let's hear from Ron first and then we'll go to the call. Just hold on first, please, caller.
We're not disagreeing with the previous caller at all, and we actually recommending that kind of, you know, setting in the family. But the emphasis is on men to play their roles, because usually in those Eastern communities and collective families, there's always a major male figure in those families. Right. You know, they do exist, and we're just calling that the men who are within those families, they take up their responsibilities. And we're not saying that the nuclear family is the ideal setting. You know, we're not saying that at all. But because of the way society is now, I mean, that is the most prevalent form of family, and probably not, maybe not even. Is maybe not even the most prevalent family. Maybe the absentee father is probably the most prevalent family setting that you get in. But the point is that we agree with the multi-generation from the traditional family, but it's what the point is that men take their roles in this family.
Well, I support the nuclear family. Good evening, caller. Please go ahead.
Yes, good evening. You know, sometimes we have to correct people when they say things that are wrong and so on. Right? The thing about it takes a community to raise a child does mean that the mother and father not around, you know. It means that when mommy and daddy not around, the rest of the community are there to guide the children. Right. Okay, we have to straighten out people when people talking wrongly or misinterpreting whatever they're reading, because that's what happens. You see, when a lot of times we have a lot of splintered groups, like you mentioned, coming on board and so on, and they do not get together, because to me, they're not looking at the real problem itself. They come in with a solution without looking at what the basic problems are. A lot of the groups send in two messages. Okay, you have groups that say, okay, it's all right for gay marriages and this, that, and the other. And the young people hearing that and the anti that, and then these same people want to come and talk about family. So these young people are confused, and they say they don't agree with what's going on, and these people sending double messages to them.
Thank you.
Thank
you very much.
There are a lot of other factors that create a lot of problems in our society. You know, one caller mentioned earlier on about some young men on the block. Okay, there are other blocks also where the rich men with their vehicles parked. Okay, we're not seeing that block. We only see the limers on the block who do not have a car park. But the other people with their vehicles parked entire Friday evening, all of Saturday, they're doing the same thing that the guys on the other block doing. but because they have this, that, and the other, it's overlooked. And these people are not the ones we should target. Of course, yes, we should target them also, because they're just as guilty. You see, and that's one of my bones to pick with them. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Very valid.
We're getting some very salient and sometimes distinct points being made on this program.
But also to let it be known that the issues with men is not only with parenting and family. There are issues of men's health. There's so many other issues that concern men. I think we have another call.
Good evening, caller. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good night to all.
Good night.
Okay, I'm following your show, and then it is somewhat interesting. Well, as far as I know, like about family and raising family. Now, if we have to think of the Old Testament, now we have to consider the time that the Old Testament and the principles that were there, and then the time that we are living today. Because if you have to follow the Old Testament principles in general, where Christ came, whereby because the Old Testament principles, it was not sufficient, whereby we will be able to live a good life. Now, in raising a family, now even Solomon said that. Solomon had many wives and many concubines, but he said that no. When he think of his life, the way he lived his life, Solomon said that no. He considered that to be vanity, but he said that no. The most important aspect in life is that one must know God, and if we know God, we will be able to raise our children in a manner whereby they will be a good example. Now, when I think of the older days, before, like the old people, like they were able to talk to your children, and if they do something wrong, it was okay to beat the children or to discipline them. But today, if somebody choose to beat our children, the majority of us would say to the person, "Why did you choose to beat my child?" And then the law and the system today consider beating and to be abused.
Yeah. Let me speed you up a bit, caller. So wrap up the comments so that I can let the guests respond as well.
Okay, so I'm saying that it is important that we choose to be a father and take up our responsibility as a role model, and whereby our children and our sons in turn will choose to be a good father as well. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for your contribution.
He ended the point on by stating, which is what we are saying, that it is important for men to pick up their responsibilities as fathers. But I want to also push the agenda further. Men are not only fathers. Some men are not fathers. Some men will never be fathers. So what is a man? What is a man's responsibility? What is it about genetic makeup that says that you have a responsibility as a man or a woman, and what is your role, because more than just fatherhood, we have noted role modeling, as an issue for younger boys. We note the crime situation. It's prevalent all over the world. St. Lucia is not unique. It's men and boys that are the majority of the criminal deviants. And so who are they following, and who sets the tone, and what lifestyle do they see? What are we as men doing to say, well, I can pattern a guy's life, or so that he may choose to walk a different path. What is a man?
Good question. We have another call. Good evening, caller. Please go ahead.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good night. Good night.
Yes. One of the things that I'm always concerned about is that the match. Yeah, I'm in favor of the match for men. But what's about the people that actually given up people's life, the men that have given up his life on the street, and there is no, like the figure to themselves, there is no turning back. Do we have any organization, or do you all have any organization that could go and speak to those men on that special day, and maybe close them, give them something to eat, and have them to come and attend to the match or something like that?
That's a valid point.
Pardon?
Thank you very much. That's your contribution.
Yeah, but one other thing again I was looking at is that, you know, on the day of that match, are we going to have, or if they say it's going to be a family day, are we going to have any alcohol served on that field? Where
No.
Pardon me?
No, there's no selling of alcohol on that day.
Because this is our biggest problem in St. Lucia today. You know, our main concern is that all our men has actually gone astray by abusing drugs, alcohol, and
not all. Not all.
Majority of our young men and a lot of young people. When you look at, because St. Lucia right now is known actually number one in the world for alcohol consuming, right? And this is not good at all. You know, when you look at the streets on Friday, Saturday, you look at the Castries market, you drive around Castries, you wonder really what's really happening with our men. So the society, we're going to have a match, but what that match is going to direct us to, what it is all about. Is it about our health, or it is about trying to bring back men, going and speak to men on a one-to-one, calling them out from the rum shop, you know, trying to ask them questions. What is affecting you? Why are you going that way? Why are you spending a whole day in a rum shop? You know, because sometimes those men, they listen, you know, they listen, they want somebody to hear them. Those persons have issues that we need to try and address those issues with those persons so that we could build solution. Because as somebody said earlier on, you know, it's a selfish world. You know, we have no love anymore. It's a greedy world where people want, it's all about making money. Yeah. You know, who die, who sad, once I am glad. That is our motive, or that is the way we move towards life. Once I'm glad, I don't care who's sad. You know, so that is what my output for tonight.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Most of the things caller, that's a very good point. Most of the things that the caller mentioned there is some of the tenets of what we have seen happening in our society, especially with men. You know, hence the reason why we've come up with the International Men's Committee and our ministry. You know, to try and see and address those situations, because like the caller said, I mean, it's not only we as one sin. You can see that everyone is seeing that this is one of the problems that we are facing, and it needs redress. You know, and I'm very pleased to know that not only, I mean, you can see that it is reaching out. The idea that we are bringing in, you can see that it's a consensus, not only with our committee, but you can see it's consensus there in the public. And the public they are aware of the situation, and you can see that there are men who are calling, and they need to see those situations addressed. And I'm very proud to hear the comments by this caller.
Yeah, now I was talking about two issues that I wanted to raise before the calls started flowing in, and let me try to fit them in. I mean, the first thing for me is that men need to be sensitive to what affected them, you know, growing up as young people, as boys, as young men. And you know, they need to reach back and sometimes, you know, touch base with their past so that they can know how to progress in the future. And, you know, so they can have an idea of how to deal with their sons. And you have indicated that not all men will have children. It's a fact. Right. But then all men will have some sort of influence on another man. A young man, an older man, you know, a man his age, his pair, whatever. That's the first issue. The second one for me is that you have to make a concerted effort. And we have a call on the line. We'll just have that caller wait for a second. You have to make a concerted effort as a man to reverse some of those negative effects that you suffered when you were growing up. You know, I'm sure that we all experience certain things, you know, with our fathers or with the male figures in our lives that we thought was not really positive. And it would take a strong individual and a strong will to try to reverse what has happened to you. So, for example, if you a young man who was abused all the time, you know, beaten and stuff, I'm not saying discipline, but beaten, you know, abusively by your father, it would take a strong individual to say, you know what, this is not what I want, this is not the example, this is not the model that I want to set for my son, so that he can abuse his children, because I know the effects that it had on me. So therefore, let me try to turn it around and show him different ways of coping, different ways of dealing with his son. So let me just take this call, and then after I'll have you just wrap up. Good evening, caller. Thank you for holding.
Hi, good evening to all. Good. I would like to make two points. One of it, people make a reference to community parenting. I don't think that exists today. Simply because women are forced to go out to work. They're no longer around to take care of children. That's one. Secondly, how respectful are these kids to parents? How respectful are they to grown-ups? How respectful are they to the elderly in our community? They don't respect these people. Let us be realistic. Long ago, my grandmother could flog anyone. You can't do that today. Definitely. And I have a recipe for good parenting. That before one gets involved in sexual intercourse, they must marry. If all of us take that position, we all will be able to stick to our responsibilities, stay where we start, and support our family as we should. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, go ahead.
A lot of issues, huh?
Yeah,
A lot,
Yes.
you know, and that is good. All of the discussion is what we're hoping to generate. And like you have been saying, you know, it needs to be sustained, you know, after this week, this coming week has come and gone. But that is the thing. We want to generate the discussion. The discussion is always healthy. And as is evident tonight, there's so many different perspectives on the roles of men and parenting and fathering and role modeling. And but if these things are not discussed and if these things aren't on the agenda, then they continue to be swept under the rug.
Yeah.
And you know, men need this awareness. We're hoping really to build this awareness, starting with our rally, our march and our rally. I don't think it has been said that the time, our assembly time, is at 12 at the VG complex.
Yeah.
At 12 at the VG complex on Sunday the 18th. And we want to begin the march by 1 o'clock and get to the Minder Phillip grounds by 1:30, where we would start with some entertainment, some speeches. It's going to be a fun-filled day.
Yeah.
And I really want to encourage all men. It has been said that last year was disappointing numbers. I want men to show that men are responsible in St. Lucia. If you're a Lucian man, you're part of the Lucian Man movement, Lucian Men March on Sunday the 18th.
Yeah.
Just quick words as we wrap up, Rohn.
Clinton, I'm very excited that you was able to have us on the program tonight. I think that, as you can see, that a lot of the men are quite interested in what is going on, and that we're hoping to see them on Sunday for our Lucian Men's March.
Great. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Al Elliot, Chairman of the International Men's Day Planning Committee, and Rohn Peter, who is the Research Officer in the Department of Gender Relations in the Ministry of Health and Gender Relations. I'm Clinton Reynolds, and I want to thank you very much for being part of our program this evening. But just before we leave, of course, our program note for tomorrow, the Law Factor Live will be discussing insurance. And Delia Dolor will be speaking with two very special guests, one from EC Global Insurance, Severin Francois, and also Claudius Francis, President of the Senate and the President of the Insurance Council of St. Lucia. So, she will inform viewers about a brand new insurance policy that was designed specifically for those people who do not know much about insurance. It is unique, groundbreaking, essential, and affordable. This new policy, she says, will provide peace of mind. Dollar Factor Live tomorrow, 8:30 p.m., right here on DBS. I'll be here on the weekend, Saturday night, God willing, for another press club. Maria Fontenelle will be with me, where we break down the latest developments for the past week. So until then, I'm Clinton Reynolds. Do have a wonderful night.